What's up, guys? Welcome back and Happy New Year's. As I begin to build my channel and shape and mold it, two things I really want to emphasize, two things I really want to do. One is I want to take a hard stance when tough issues and tough topics arise. And two, I want to shed light on things that the mainstream media isn't really able to shed light on or really bring up in conversation. Which brings me to today's topic. Back in 2007, General Wesley Clark Ret had an interview with Democracy Now! Where he dropped some very heavy information that's very relevant nearly a decade later. It's just changed into the new year. We're stepping into 2017, and I thought it was important to reflect back on this video, which today has all the relevancy in the world. So before I tell you what I think, check out this short clip, and I'll be right back.
On or about the 20th of September. I said, we're going to war with Iraq. Why? He said, I don't know. He said, I guess they don't know what else to do. So I said, well, did they find some information connecting Saddam to Al-Qaeda? He said, no. He says, there's nothing new that way. They just made the decision to go to war with Iraq. He said, I guess it's like we don't know what to do about terrorists, but we've got a good military and we can take down governments. And he said, I guess if the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem has to look like a nail. So I came back to see him a few weeks later, and by that time we were bombing in Afghanistan. I said, are we still going to war with Iraq? And he said, oh, it's worse than that. He said, he reached over on his desk and picked up a piece of paper. He said, I just got this down from upstairs, meaning the Secretary of Defense's office today. And he said, this is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran. I said, is it classified? He said, yes, sir. I said, well, don't show it to me. And I saw him a year or so ago, and I said, you remember that? And he said, sorry, I didn't show you that memo. I didn't show it to you.
I'm sorry, what did you say his name was?
I'm not going to give you his name.
So go through the countries again.
Well, starting with Iraq, then Syria and Lebanon, then Libya, then Somalia and Sudan, and then back to Iran.
Okay, I've heard enough. Before I tell you what I think, I just want to give a quick kudos to General Wesley Clark Ret. You know, he really blew the whistle on this one, and he called it years in advance. So I appreciate him and honor him, salute him for stepping forward with the information when he did. Now, just briefly going over the list that he named, he said Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Iran. Now, of course, just listening to those names, this was 10 years ago that he said, reminiscing on 2001, that we were going to get involved in these nations. And it's amazing just how accurate that list was. Iraq, we all know how things have been going in Iraq with the creation of ISIS and whatnot. Syria, we're currently involved in Syria. It's a proxy war there going on with Russia, U.S., Syria, of course. Turkey's involved. You know, just days ago, Netanyahu of Israel said that he might get involved there and directly send troops on the ground. So we've got to keep our eyes on Syria, of course, and I'll be uploading more information on that. Lebanon is strategically a little less important just because they don't have oil reserves like some of these other nations, but that's an interesting one that made the list. Libya, we all know how that was taken care of by Obama and at the time Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, with the decision to remove Gaddafi, and that really destroyed some of the infrastructure and some of the governments in Libya. Right now they're falling into a civil war, so we got to keep our eyes on Libya even now. Somalia, interestingly enough, has the largest military presence since Black Hawk Down back in '93. we've got the largest military presence today under President Obama, so that made the list. We're currently in southern Sudan, and we definitely need to be aware of that. And the one that really caught my list outside of all of these that have already been checked off the list, if you will, was Iran. And I think I really want to see what happens under President-elect Donald Trump, because just in hearing him in the primaries, hearing him in the generals, and even hearing him, some of his speech as President-elect, I've noticed that he mentions, Iran and how he would have destroyed the nuclear deal that, excuse me, camera's messing up, how he would have destroyed the nuclear deal that President Obama was able to negotiate with Iran. Now, President Obama, I have a lot of issues with him. I wouldn't say that he's an A-list president, and I get a lot of slack from the black community for that. I'd say that he's a B minus. I'm going to give some information on his legacy in a different video. But, you know, one of the things that I will give President Obama credit for was his Iranian deal, because Iran was months away from developing nuclear capabilities, weapons-grade nuclear capabilities. Months away was Iran before the Iranian deal. And without a single bullet being fired, President Obama was able to negotiate a deal where Iran would delay their nuclear capabilities for over a decade. Now, moving from months away to over a decade without a bullet being fired, I'll chalk that up to a win. So I will give President Obama credit for that, but we'll see how Donald Trump views the situation, because he's promised to reverse the Iranian deal. Already Congress has moved to sanction Iran, despite the fact that the Iranian deal said that we would not. So Iran has the backing of Russia, has deals with Syria, and there's all types of NATO play, and Iran is one of those countries where you really want to be wary of, because when it comes to the nuclear deal, it's next to climate change. I feel as though this nuclear capabilities, international nuclear capabilities, is going to be one of the major issues of my generation. You know, I'm 25, I was born in 91, and I can really see that being a serious problem for all of mankind in the not too distant future. So I think Iran, and just really keeping a list on all of these other countries that was mentioned by General Wesley Clark Retired, is going to be very key, very important. So, hey, that's just what I think. Sorry again for the camera issues. I want to be upgrading. I'm just now getting my videos building up, so I want to be getting new lights, new cameras, everything. So just work with me, you know, bear with me as I grow, support me. If you agree with what I'm saying here, give me a like. If you disagree, please, by all means, leave a comment, leave some information. I'd love to review it. I review all comments, so please drop some information. I'll definitely check it out. Either way, subscribe. You know, come back. We've got a lot to talk about. And more so than doing these videos, the thing that I look forward to is the conversation that arises from them. Now, all of my videos are not going to be about war. Some of them are going to be more light. Some of things will be more pro-black driven. Some things will be more male driven. Some things will be universal. There's going to be all types of content. So come on back. We've got a lot to talk about. All right? Well, that's what I think. Peace.
My point on this is not that the Iranians are good guys, they're not, but that you shouldn't use force except as a last resort. There is a military option, but it's a bad one.